Indifference is a weapon. Stoicism preaches detachment, serenity, in the face of chaos. But what if I told you that same indifference could be your greatest tool of power? That absolute control over your passions could, silently, give you control over the world around you. The popular image of the Stoic is a passive hermit, a stone statue enduring the storm. But there's a dark, almost forbidden, side to this philosophy, the art of influencing without anyone noticing, the skill of moving the pieces on the board while all the other players are screaming at fate. Be ready to question what you think you know about inner peace. What you're after isn't peace. It's the subtle power you crave. Observe the scene, a boardroom. Voices rise, accusations fly, panic spreads like an oil slick on water. At the center of the table, one figure remains still. His face, a mask of tranquility. He doesn't argue. He doesn't defend himself. He just observes, his eyes registering every weakness, every fear laid bare. When chaos peaks, he speaks. A short, precise sentence, spoken in a perfectly neutral tone. And the silence that follows is heavier than all the screams that came before it. He didn't win the argument. He made it irrelevant. You know that feeling, don't you? That dry throat before a tough conversation. That racing heart when you're publicly challenged. You feel the tide of emotion rising, and you know that when it swallows you, you'll lose control. You'll say something you'll regret. You'll give ground you shouldn't. Your reactivity is your chain. The dark Stoic doesn't break that chain. He hands it to the other person and watches them shackle themselves. He turns his own calm into a force field, a vacuum that drains his opponent's energy, leaving them exhausted and exposed. The paradox is this: to gain external control, you must first simulate an internal death. An indifference so profound it becomes a form of power. But is this indifference real, or is it the most perfectly crafted mask a man can wear? Mark this. The Stoicism they sold you is a comfortable lie, a self-help philosophy for the weak. They tell you about Marcus Aurelius writing in his tent, a melancholic emperor. They conveniently forget Seneca, the richest man in Rome, the tutor and advisor to Emperor Nero, one of history's most unstable tyrants. Do you really believe Seneca survived and thrived in that viper's nest with only meditations on virtue? Confront reality. Seneca was a master of influence, a manipulator on an imperial scale. He used Stoic principles not as a shield for his soul, but as a scalpel to dissect the souls of others. The principle of indifference to passions wasn't about finding peace. It was about becoming a cold mirror. When you don't react, when you don't give away your own emotions, you force the other person to confront theirs. The angry man screams at a wall and hears only the echo of his own fury. The sycophant whispers praises into the void and realizes his own falseness. Seneca, with his calculated calm, could observe Nero and see every trigger, every insecurity, every childish desire that moved the most powerful man in the world. And with that knowledge, he could whisper the right word at the right moment to guide the empire. You do the same on a smaller scale. In that argument with your partner, when you force yourself to stay silent, not for peace, but to make them feel guilty. In that salary negotiation, when you present your terms with detached calm, making it seem like you don't need the job, that your departure is a real possibility and one you're indifferent to. You're using the same technique. You're creating an emotional vacuum for the other person to fill with their own anxieties. The dark Stoic knows most people are slaves to their reactions. And whoever controls the reactions controls the outcome. This isn't about virtue. It's about effectiveness. It's about understanding that power isn't with whoever shouts loudest, but with whoever stays calm longest. There was a man in Rome who took this idea to its purest, most terrifying extreme. His name was Cato the Younger. He was Julius Caesar's mortal enemy, not for leading armies against him, but for being something Caesar couldn't buy, intimidate, or seduce. Cato was the embodiment of Stoic integrity. A granite wall. The chronicles say he walked barefoot through the streets of Rome, in a simple tunic, refusing the luxuries of his class. He didn't do it out of humility. It was a silent declaration, a performance of power. Every barefoot step on the uneven pavement was a message to Caesar and his allies. I don't need what you offer. I don't fear what you can take from me. His indifference wasn't a tactic for a specific meeting. It was his very existence. He turned his life into a passive weapon. Imagine the effect of that. Politicians who based their power on bribes and threats faced a man who didn't want their money and didn't fear death. Generals who conquered nations with the sword saw a man who conquered them with silence. Cato's influence didn't come from what he did, but from what he refused to do. He didn't need to manipulate, because his own unshakable nature warped the reality around him. People were forced to measure themselves against him, and almost always felt smaller, weaker, more corrupt. He didn't break souls with words. He revealed them to themselves with his silent example. That's a much deeper, much rarer form of power. It's not the art of moving the pieces, but of becoming the board itself, a fixed point in a world in flux, forcing everyone else to redefine their positions relative to you. But is this rigidity power or a cage? Cato's integrity led him to suicide rather than live under Caesar's rule. A moral victory, perhaps, but a practical defeat. And here, the dark Stoic turns from his master and looks to another figure, a thinker from another age who had no time for virtue, Niccolò Machiavelli. This isn't Stoicism, but it completes what they left unaddressed. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must learn not to be good. He must understand the difference between how men should live and how they actually live. The classical Stoic focuses on the former. The manipulative Stoic operates in the latter. He uses Stoic detachment not to rise above the world, but to see it with brutal clarity, without the filter of morality. The paradox is cruel. To protect your inner citadel, your soul's inner citadel, as the Stoics called it, you might need to dig dirty trenches in the outer world. You need to understand the vanity, greed, and fear that drive people, not to judge them, but to use them. Detachment gives you the view of a general on a hill, surveying the battlefield of human interactions. You see the moves before they happen. You see each person's emotional supply line. You know a well-timed compliment can disarm a critic, and a hint of indifference can ignite the desire of someone who takes you for granted. You see this principle at work. The colleague who isn't the most competent, but understands the boss's ego and climbs the ladder. The person who seems not to care about the relationship, and precisely because of that, keeps their partner constantly seeking approval. They might not call themselves Stoics, but they're using a bastardized and terrifyingly effective version of its principles. They've detached from the moral outcome to focus on the real outcome. They understood that, in the game of influence, whoever cares less often holds more power. It's an ugly truth, and that's why it works. Now, look inward. This search for control creates a void. You master the art of indifference. You become unshakable. Others' criticisms bounce off your armor. Rejection doesn't hurt you anymore. You win arguments not with words, but with a calculated silence that unnerves your opponent. You achieve your goals, manipulate situations to your advantage, and people look at you with a mix of awe and fear. You've become the fortress you always wanted to be. But have you ever tried to leave that fortress? Confront the cost. The same indifference that protects you from the world also isolates you from it. You learn to see others' emotions as mere data, levers to be pulled. A friend's vulnerability isn't the call for empathy anymore, but a strategic opportunity. Someone's love isn't a gift, but a variable to be managed. You become a puppet master and forget that one day you too were made of flesh and bone, not wood and strings. The soul you learned to break in others was a reflection of your own. To become immune to pain, you had to amputate the part of yourself that feels. To gain control, you sacrificed connection. You're safe in your inner citadel, yes, but it's empty. The walls are high, and no one can get in. Not even you can get out. The dark Stoic, in his quest for power, risks becoming a ghost in his own life, a perfectly calm spectator of an existence without warmth, without color, without the glorious and terrible risk of truly feeling anything. The victory is yours. But what exactly have you won? Indifference as a weapon. Now you see it's double-edged. One cuts down his enemies. The other, slowly, cuts you off from the world. True power, the ultimate wisdom the dark Stoic may never grasp, isn't in using detachment to control others. It's in using it to give yourself a choice. Imagine yourself at a crossroads. One path leads to the top of a lonely hill, where a stone fortress awaits you, safe, impenetrable, silent. The wind whistles through the battlements. From there, you can see everything, but you can touch nothing. The other path descends into a chaotic, noisy city, full of people, of risks, of potential pain, but also of life, of connection, of human warmth. The manipulative Stoic runs to the fortress. The common man stumbles blindly into the city. But the wise man doesn't move. He remains at the crossroads. He looks at the fortress and understands its price. He looks at the city and understands its danger. His indifference isn't a weapon to use against others, nor a wall to hide behind. It's clarity, the ability to see both paths without being dragged down by either. The supreme power isn't to influence the world. It's having final sovereignty over what part of yourself you give to it, and when, if ever, you choose to descend from the hill and walk, by your own choice, among mortals.